Folks, I'm Bavarian, and today I would like to cover what can only be described as the most secretive mod for Crusader Kings 3, A Game of Thrones. The dev team has been working quietly and steadily on the upcoming version of the most beloved Crusader Kings 2 mod of all time. It certainly seems like it is the most anticipated mod for CK3 as well. And yeah, there is without a doubt no release date on the horizon yet, I just wanted to make that clear before we begin. However, if you want to stay informed in regards to the team's progress, make sure to join their Discord and follow their YouTube channel. The links are of course in the description. And so, I scraped the internet to find any piece of data and as many images as I could find to summarize it all here in this very video. Let's take a look at what we know so far of Game of Thrones for CK3. In their very first dev diary, lead developer Fox Willow established that the mod would primarily focus on Robert's rebellion. The team works fervently on getting everything right about a start date that will bring a lot of chaos and with that a lot of opportunities. A mod of this size of course has to establish priorities or it will never release, and settling on a start date that will bring a starting position to the table that can lead to different outcomes almost immediately is rather exciting. Along with this information, they also decided to briefly discuss their 3D artists working hard to bring a believable world to your doorstep and in that spirit release the image of Daenerys Targaryen. Oh, there is also a dragon in case you didn't notice. Please do not take this as me promising anything. I have no idea what the dev team wants to be working on, but there is a lot of 3D work to be done for a mod as huge as this one, especially with the opportunities in the upcoming Royal Court expansion. But just imagine the glory that may be in the future, such as dragons being fully visible to us in a 3D space. That is, once all that work is done, and believe me, it's a lot of work. We'll get back to the 3D artistry of this mod a little later in the video. Then, on the 7th December 2020, the Game of Thrones team did me the honor of showcasing the very first moving material of their mod in my great total conversion video. What we saw there was frankly extraordinary, not to say intimidating. It was always clear that the mod would get an unprecedented amount of work hours to ensure that it would reach the quality level the devs intended for it, but the sections of the map that were shown, so the north, are larger, more beautiful and more lifelike than ever before. I prepared some direct comparisons to the CK2 version of the mod here, and I think it quickly becomes obvious just how dedicated the modders are in their work. Back then, it was already clear to me what mod lead Fox Willow would confirm in the very first video dev diary of their own that released earlier this May. Every single canonical house of the world of Ice and Fire will be playable on this gigantic map. I urge you to check out the video in full if you're interested in getting the complete picture. The link is, as mentioned before, in the description. The video there showcased some very interesting things as well, so let's take a look at that. First of all, we were able to see just how massive King's Landing, for example, would be, and interestingly enough, it was also confirmed in this very video that King's Landing itself would be treated in a very special fashion. Fox Willow talked about the team doing their best to create special assets that would show off the far-reaching city walls, the individual important locations, and the dense population that, canonically, King's Landing truly has. Listen, even if you know nothing of the lore, the work put into this project is simply impressive. But for now, let's move on to Dev Diary number 2. This one covered the well-known mechanics around the Mega Wars. If you have not played the mod in CK2, let me quickly explain. Should there be a war involving the Iron Throne, the individual lords and ladies of the realm, so all of them except barons, will be able to decide whether they want to support their liege, remain neutral, or join the rebellion. Additionally, the Lord Paramounts, so the highest vassals of the King of the Seven Kingdoms, get to choose whether they want to become independent in full. Now this does sound great, obviously it will lead to massive border go and extreme civil wars like we are used to from CK2's version of the mod, but what I like in particular about this system making a return is the fact that with how Dread and the upcoming mechanic of Grandeur will work, there will likely be more complexity to this system than ever before. The dev diary made sure to point out not to get too hung up on the details as the system needed to be coded first and would also have to react to any changes Paradox undertakes. And well, it is now rather apparent, I'd say, that Grandeur and Dread are likely to have a decent amount of influence for this system. I seriously cannot wait for absolute anarchy. The next dev diary was then about the 3D art of the mod and revealed 3 things. Here you can see Rhaegar's close helm. The dev diary talked specifically about taking the books for absolute canon and a will to strike a balance between realism and the more fantastic elements of the lore. While they do not completely reject the idea of taking inspiration from the show, I do think it is wise seeing as well the show sort of deteriorated in quality. I think that this helmet is a rather great example for this exact approach. Next, there is a work-in-progress model of the High Tower of Old Town. In the dev diary, the creator, Flo, talked about wanting to bring every single unique holding as they are described in the books to the map. Of course, this will take a lot of time, but the High Tower looks impressive and will be a proper marker for Old Town itself. This grand ambition to add an insane amount of assets, however, does not end with buildings, but is expanded to eternal snowstorms beyond the wall, all the way to the volcanic wasteland of the Valyrian Peninsula. The plans are without a doubt extensive, but the team, judging by their track record here, can likely be trusted with seeing the vision through. The Dev Diary also showed off the Valyrian sword Brightrow that is in possession of House Lannister. This addition is even more meaningful today as we know that long-term weaponry and such can be regularly equipped with the upcoming expansion. Not just that, but we will also be able to admire the artifact in our throne rooms. Good stuff. Now this was everything in terms of 3D when it comes to Dev Diaries, but you know me, I go on the prowl and find whatever I can find wherever I can find it. So enjoy the work in progress faces of many people that you may or may not recognize. As somebody that is yet to read the books, I still am able to recognize most of the faces and also love just how unique they are. It is important to keep in mind that these faces may change significantly over development, so don't get too attached to any of them yet, but they look like rather unique, well-designed faces to me. The last Dev Diary of the bunch here is about everything religion. Now, the world of Ice and Fire has very interesting and very different religions, making it quite difficult to properly catch and classify them. Sir Voltaire the Goldflame, one of the devs, has decided to apply a two-pronged attack plan that frankly impressed me quite a bit. The first part of this attack are the 5 tenets and a great number of doctrines that all faiths will have. They are designed to enable even people that aren't theological experts to recognize what is sitting in front of them just by looking at the religious interface. I think this is rather important as, of course, everybody knows Game of Thrones, but how many people know the intricacy of all religions? The added accessibility of the system is indeed quite promising. The second prong of this attack is the integration of the More Religious Doctrines mod because, well, this is the most in-depth categorization possible and will add further depth and accessibility. First, we have a look at the Pantheon, so an analysis of how many gods, if any, the faith believes in. Then we have Cosmology, which directly describes how a faith views the universe as a whole. The nature of godhood doctrine will give away what relationship gods have to power and humankind in this faith. After that, the player can view how a faith views lesser divinities, whether mortals are venerated, and whether there is a degree of active divine guidance in the faith. I think it is already becoming apparent why I believe that Game of Thrones and More Religious Doctrines make for a great marriage. The last 3 categories cover how the religious tradition is shared, so whether it is in writing, orally, or via a decentralized storytelling mechanism. Eschatology basically describes what will occur in the final days of the world. Much like Christians in the real world believe in the final judgment, for example, people in this world may believe in a battle between the Lord of Light and the Lord of Darkness. Planetology, on the other hand, discusses what a faith thinks occurs when somebody passes on from this life. Now, I do not believe that these doctrines will do much in terms of gameplay mechanics, but I am more than willing to be surprised by the dev team. However, even so, I believe that this is of massive importance, as if you wonder how you should roleplay and what your character should feel, you could simply open up the interface, take a look, and know everything that you need to know. This is without a doubt a good addition to this mod. And with this, we have reached the end of everything that we know so far of the Game of Thrones mod for CK3. What do you think? Are you hyped? Make sure to join their Discord and give them some moral support, and leave a comment if you want to support me as well. Of course, I'm interested in your opinion also. The work done here very clearly deserves support, or at least I would say so. Now, this is all for today, and I simply want to thank the members of the channel, namely the Barons, the Counts, and the Dukes. Thank you also very much for supporting me on this journey. For now, see you later. Alligator.